tuning in from. And let us know, in honor of the fact that I got way too sunburned yesterday because I was dumb enough not to put a hat on and do some yard work. Let us know if you've got your summer vacation plans dialed in yet. And if you got some good summer vacation plans, let us know what they are. I will tell you, I am going to be going to the beach here in North Carolina in a couple of months. We have a beach 3.5 hours from Charlotte. We go with our family every year, get a big beach house for everybody. I will be sure to put on my sunscreen, but always look forward to that. Jana, Eddie, do you guys have vacation plans yet?
Go ahead, Jana.
Mine also entails a lot of sunscreen. So, yes, I will be packing that into Koodles. We're also going to the beach. We're going to go to Oak Island here in just a couple of weeks over also in Beach, North Carolina. So, yes, that will be our plan. But I will have my Shibumi umbrella and sunscreen and hat.
Love it.
And I am going to the real ocean up in Chatham, Massachusetts, in a little place known as Cape Cod. It is delightful. It is the great white shark capital of America, as far as I'm concerned. But other than that, it is beautiful. Go with the whole family over here. My whole family lives there.
Love that. Love that. Well, hi, Christina. Hi, Maria. Hi, Ellie. Hi, Tammy. Guys, let's make sure the chat is working. Drop in the chat, please, where you're tuning in from, and let us know if you've got any fun summer vacation plans. Quick housekeeping note, when you are putting a message into the chat, make sure that it says to everyone, unless, of course, you want to keep it private. But by default, it's not going to say everyone. So make sure it works because this is how we are going to kind of interact throughout our time together. We want this to be conversational. We want this to be helpful. And so please do feel free to drop questions in the chat. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Danny Decker. I am co-founder and partner here at Spotlight Marketing and Branding. I've been in the legal marketing space for 15 years and counting, and get to do a lot of writing and workshops and webinars, and these are my favorite things to do. So really excited to be here today. Have a couple great members of the team here as well. Jana and Eddie, do you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Yes, I'm Jana. I get sunburnt frequently, and I am one of our senior marketing strategists here, along with Eddie. And for anyone who's curious about what it is that Spotlight does, we will be one of the first people that you talk to, and we're happy to share any and all resources like these amazing webinars with you if you are curious about any more info.
Plot spoiler, Janet gave it all away. I'm also the another senior marketing strategist here. I mean, between the two of us, we've been in Spotlight for 14 years now. So if you every time you want to call Spotlight and figure out what the right strategy is for you, one of us will help you out do it, help you to do it.
Wonderful. All right, so let's get into it. We are here to talk about how to build $1 million law firm without spending a penny on pay-per-click or SEO. And I want to say one thing up front. $1 million is really just a fancy number that people like to get excited about. Life doesn't magically change if you grow a business beyond $1 million. I own two different businesses in the marketing space. We're closing in on $3 million between the two. And you know what? Like, life doesn't change all that much. You still have your cash flow concerns. You still have your marketing challenges. You still have your staffing concerns, right? And then there are plenty of lawyers that we work with that don't actually want to necessarily grow a firm to $1 million because they're perfectly happy with, the size they're at, or they want to get to $500,000 or whatever. So I don't want to be one of these gurus that's out here, guru out here saying you have to grow to $1 million, because listen, you don't. What we want to do at Spotlight is create marketing that helps you get your law firm to where you want it to be, whether that is a $5 million firm or a $250,000 firm. We just want you to be honest with yourself about what type of firm you want, and we want to help you get there. So in terms of the agenda today, we're going to talk about a couple of different topics, and we're going to start with what I think is really important, which is the idea that for small firms that have not yet got to that $1 million threshold, throwing your marketing spend 100% into SEO or pay-per-click, in all honesty, it usually does more harm than good. And we're going to talk about why that's the case. And then I'm going to make sort of the argument, and we have a special guest that will offer his perspective on this as well, that really there's about 3 things you need to do and execute on consistently that is 90% of what you need to grow your firm to $1 million and even above. And step 1 is choosing a niche and focusing your marketing in on that niche 100%. 2 is building and executing an intelligent relationship development strategy, and we'll talk about what that looks like. 3 is incorporating some high leverage, low cost, high ROI marketing tactics that are going to help you cultivate that network and drive more referrals. And then if we have a little time towards the end of our time today, we will talk about an advanced strategy that, in all honesty, I would usually use before spending money on SEO or PPC, which is a Facebook ad lead magnet strategy that we'll break down in just a minute. And I'm also going to let you know, kind of throughout the time we have together today, you'll see a little QR code down on the bottom right. If you do want to have a conversation with anyone on our team, it would be Jana or it would be Eddie, who you just had the opportunity to meet. Go ahead and scan that QR code. We'd love to have a one-on-one conversation with you and just kind of tell you a little bit more about how we serve law firms here at Spotlight and whether or not it would be a good fit for us to work together. So feel free to do that. No pressure, but that QR code will be there most of the day. So Jana, Eddie, thank you guys for being here. I know you'll stick around, and if people have questions, I know you'll be around. But with that, I am really excited to welcome a special guest to our program today. We're honored to have Mo ElDeiry with us. Mo is a partner at ElDeiry and ElDeiry PA, which is an estate planning firm in South Florida. He's also the founder and director of FLN Global. You can check either of those sites out, and I would also strongly encourage you to connect with Mo on LinkedIn. He's a great guy to follow. You'll see why as we spend some time here together, but scan that QR code. Let's get Mo some new followers on LinkedIn. He was kind enough to volunteer his time and his expertise to be here today. So with that, Mo, thank you so much for being here, and welcome to this webinar.
All right, thanks, Danny. It is an honor and a privilege actually to be on this webinar here hosted by Spotlight. I have a very unique characteristic, and that is, believe it or not, I love spending my time, energy, and focus with attorneys. So while some may not like to do that, I truly do enjoy that. So just by way of a background and introductions, I've been a proud member of the Florida Bar since 1997. And it was back in 2010 when I embarked on this wild, crazy, ambitious idea of creating an outstanding network of attorneys and professionals. And today, the organization, with lots of great attorneys, stands at close to 350 members in over a dozen different chapters throughout South Florida. And we are ready to take the next plunge into spreading it throughout the Southeast region and the country of the United States as we get rocking and rolling here.
Love that, Mo. That is great. And again, thank you for being here. And guys, as you're listening in, please do feel free, drop questions in the chat. If you have questions for me, questions for Mo, we will kind of answer them as we go. So please do feel free to use the chat. We want this to be practical and helpful, and we want to answer whatever questions you have. So Mo, let's start here. I want to talk about FLN Global, but first, I actually would love for you to share with the audience a little bit of your journey in building your law firm, because you guys have built something special that has had real staying power. So do tell us about the law firm.
Well, I guess it's a similar story to many attorneys out there. Both my wife and I are the law partners of our particular firm. Yes, it's true we did meet in law school. Yes, it's true we do share an office, but there is an office between us. So there is a buffer zone so everybody can stay in their own particular corners. We started the firm over 20 years ago. And, I'll tell you honestly, around that time when I first started after working for several years in another firm, I definitely still maintained the mindset of providing legal services, not in every area of law, but shall we say probably 4 or 5 different areas of law. And it wasn't really until I kind of grew up a little bit more and became more mature as a law firm owner and as a person and as a husband and a dad and all that kind of stuff where I began to realize this is not a sustainable or successful strategy, that at some point it's really important to kind of step back, take a look at what it is that you really want to do and focus in on that, because I definitely found, as I know one of the topics Danny wants to discuss today, is finding that niche, finding that specialty within the law that you really want to perpetuate and market yourself and be branded and known as. So I would say probably around 15 years ago, maybe right around that 2010 mark, even when FLN started, was when we finally threw the gauntlet down and said, that's it. We are only going to be practicing in the area of estate planning and probate, and that's it. And life became better. Everything about what we did, Danny, became better. It was easier to make decisions on what clients we take and what clients we don't. It was much easier to market and promote. And it was a lot easier for people to recognize and understand what we did because they were related areas of practice. Oh, okay, so Mo and Wendy do estate planning and probate. That's wonderful. When those things come up, let's look to them for those things. And that's kind of how it got started.
Love that. And so, Mo, it's you and your wife. You are the attorneys. What else does the team look like? Is it just the two of you, or do you guys have a team as well?
We do. We have a team of about 6 or 7 people, some in the office, some out of the office. You know, we don't even call people virtual anymore. We basically say either you're in the office and we see you all the time, or you're not in the office and we see you through Zoom or phone calls or other methods, etc., when we get together with the team. So having that team in place is definitely what's made a big difference in being able to market and promote the law firm in a particular way, and be able, of course, to handle the work that comes in for particular areas of practice.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's great. And for those of you here with us today, I would love to hear in the chat. This is helpful for us to understand who's in the room and kind of where you're at. Is your firm today, at this moment, are you more of a generalist firm where you kind of handle whatever matters come to your door that day, or are you very laser focused on a specific niche, a practice area, or maybe a couple of very tightly related practice areas? Or are you somewhere in between the two? Would love to get a sense of where you all are at in terms of your focus right now. So please let us know in the chat. And Mo, with that, do tell us about FLN Global and what you're building there. And let me actually start with this question. Why is it called FLN Global?
Oh my goodness. So we're going to start with that one first, or should I end with that one?
That's up to you, my friend.
All right. Well, first, let me kind of give you some context and background. So what happened was, honestly, my wife and I are the very proud parents of 2 girls and 2 boys. And when our 4th child arrived on the planet, I started to hyperventilate. And I realized that I had a lot more duties and responsibilities than I had before. And I began for the first time to say, okay, we really need to get this rocking and rolling in the right way, in the right format. And when I took a look at our cases, where they were coming from and how we were getting them, sure enough, as many of you probably would attest to, I recognized that our best cases, our most profitable cases, the cases we loved working with, came from other attorneys in different areas of practice and our existing clientele. So one day I just had this revelation, and I had this passion and desire to say, you know what? I want to go ahead and do something that is crazy and ambitious, and start a networking group of attorneys in different areas of practice so that we can all help each other succeed. So that's where and when. So it was 2010 when the idea started to develop and to ferment. And at the outset, Danny, it really was designed just to create a referral network to help our firm get business, other firms get business. And I'll tell you, I was really, one of the most compelling reasons for doing so is I was so bothered, frustrated, and annoyed that after having been in practice for a good 14, 15, 16 years, we didn't have a great collection of experienced attorneys to refer our clients to. So I was a member of the Broward Bar for many years, members of chamber of this, chamber of that, and I would be able to get around there and meet some of the attorneys. but I didn't feel that comfortable really referring business to attorneys that I did not really know or like or trust. And one of the most compelling and amazing things that happened was in the development of this lawyers networking group. That's how we all really started to become better. We were able to give out a lot of cases from our existing clientele to other attorneys. We were able to get a lot of business from our fellow colleagues in the legal network. And most of all, we all actually improved in the process. We learned about other areas of practice. We get CLE credits for all of the FLN chapter meetings because of the amount of education and information. And it really has been an extraordinary mission. So it started like that, and then it became growing and growing and growing. And then, before we had 3 or 4 years in place, I think we already had half a dozen to 10 different chapters, and it continued to grow. So now I'll give you the story and the context. It originally started as the Florida Lawyers Network, and the acronym FLN was very well known throughout our community and throughout the state. And then one day I'm working with a business coach, and he says, Mo, the next book we're going to be reading here now is 10X is Easier Than 2X. And I start reading through that book, and the message of that particular book, he says, believe it or not, it is much easier for you to develop your personal, professional, financial goals by 10Xing them versus 2Xing. And
Yeah, that's Ben Hardy, right? That's Dr. Ben Hardy that wrote that book.
Yeah, a really interesting concept. So I'm like, wow. Okay, so I ripped the Band-Aid off, and I'm like, okay, that's it. And one day I wake up, and as of May 1st, 2025, all of a sudden we became FLN Global. And I needed to keep the acronym FLN because everybody had already known it. And then I needed to expand it to be global so that now we didn't have any restrictions geographically, because constantly, Danny, people would ask me, why? When are you going to create Michigan Lawyers Network or Georgia's Lawyers Network or New York Lawyers Network? I'm like, listen, that's too many, and I don't even have the time or the energy to get all those URLs. So that's how flnglobal.com became into the world. Now, the L is easy. The L stands for lawyers. The N is also easy. It stands for network. So people would ask me, okay, Mo, so now what are you going to call the F? Well, the F now stands for first, fabulous, phenomenal, futuristic, formidable, foreseeable. Frankly, it can stand for whatever the F you want it to.
I love that. I love that. That's great.
But it'll always be a tribute to the attorneys and professionals in Florida that really allowed this opportunity to kind of develop and create a great opportunity for attorneys to network and participate.
Well, that's awesome, Mo. And I know you've had a lot of success growing it, and I know you'll continue to do so. And I hope those of you who are listening, who are interested, will check out FLN Global, because it is a great community. But on a serious note, we're talking about growing law firms, and you talked about two things kind of in your introduction that I think are really important, which is the idea of really zeroing in on a niche and just all of the reasons why it's easier to grow a firm in that way, and then second, the power of really building a targeted referral network. So perfect segue. We're going to get into both of those topics, but before we do that, I want to have a conversation. And Mo, this isn't even something you and I have talked about. So, like I told you when we were in the green room, you are more than welcome to disagree. We can have some back and forth. That is totally fine. But I really believe that for the vast majority of small firms, and just for the context of today's webinar, let's say under that $1 million mark, maybe even under that 500,000 mark, like this might be a strange thing for the owner of a marketing agency to say, but investing heavily in a Google strategy with a lot of SEO and a lot of pay-per-click usually does more harm than good for a small firm. And I believe that to be the case, not for everybody, but for most firms. And I believe that to be the case for at least two reasons. And the first is most firms genuinely don't have the budget to do SEO and PPC well, even if they think they do, because it takes longer than anyone would like for those two channels typically to be dialed in and producing results. So if you are going to invest in an SEO strategy and a PPC strategy, number one, you don't want to just look for the cheapest option out there because typically you get what you pay for. But two, you have to be willing to test and adjust and edit and test again before you get these things dialed in. And that's expensive. And that's just not typically the best place for a smaller firm to start to spend their budget. But the second thing is arguably even more important. And Mo, I'll invite you to chime in on this and you tell me if you see it any differently. But a lot of small firms get their first batch of clients through relationships, through word of mouth, through reputation. It's through relationships. And so when they have that first consultation with a new potential client who came to them through a recommendation or a personal referral, the closing conversation, the consultation goes better typically than the experience when you get brand new cold leads from Google who have never heard of you. A person who is referred to you personally is preconditioned to like you, preconditioned to trust you, is much less likely to be calling around and vetting 3 or 4 or 5 other firms. They'll be a little bit patient with you. If it takes you a day to get back to them and get them on your calendar, they have come into the relationship predisposed to want to work with you, versus a lead that comes to you through Google is almost certainly calling 2 or 3 or 4 other firms. They are, the first question is going to be how quickly can you get this done and how cheaply can you get this done? And if you do not have intake infrastructure to rapidly respond to leads, to get people on your calendar within an hour, if you're not particularly competitive on price, Google leads are just generally speaking not going to turn into great clients. Mo, do you see that any differently?
Oh, no, Danny, I appreciate your invitation to disagree, but I can't disagree on this one. No, the truth is, yeah, right on spot. And I'm like, look, one of the benefits that I have had over now many years of doing this whole FLN concept is I realized I get a chance to learn and connect with hundreds of attorneys like every month, not, in person from our meetings so I hear and see the things that work, and I can hear and see the things that don't work. So on the first part, you were talking about it, the SEO and the PPC. Yeah, that is true, because even if you have the resolve and the determination to spend a lot of money on SEO and PPC and really just kind of field those calls as they come in, the percentage of really great clients that you want to work with that come in from that is not very high. It's just not. So you have to do a lot of vetting, a lot of screening, and there's a lot of time that goes into that. So when you're analyzing your cost, investment, and expenditures on something like SEO or PPC, you also have to factor in the labor cost. And the labor cost is how much time and energy your people are going to be spending on those people that are calling in that have not really been that serious. And I'm telling you, I think we got a call from the Google recently where a client was not only asking us to take on his DUI traffic case, he insisted that since we were licensed attorneys, that we do so.
That's classic.
So again, my intake person who does a really great job, she's, talking with the person and trying to be very cordial and very kind and very, but she's spending a good 18 minutes on this guy who just found us on the internet, who insists that we take his case on DUI.
Yeah.
So it has a big difference. Now, on the second part about the building the relationships, this is what I can honestly, truthfully, and sincerely say. The moment you decide you're going to hang your shingle or tell everybody that you are going into the business of law and that you are going to be taking on clients in a particular area of law, there are two things that I see work consistently really, really well. One is old school. One is really old school, and you guys kept saying that, Danny, in the messages you were sending out to everybody participating. And number one was actually sending out an announcement, a written announcement on like an invitation card to anybody and everybody you know that you are starting your law practice and this is where you are going to be doing it. And even if you've been in practice for many years, it still works when you send out cards like, we are happy to announce the 3rd anniversary, the 5th anniversary, the 10th anniversary of our firm, and you send them to them by something called the U.S. mail. And if you send it to somebody's business, it is far more likely to be open than if you send it to their home, but they'll still love to see it at home. About the building and developing the relationships part, again, you have a responsibility. You have got to get out there, whether you've been in practice for 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 15 years, 20 plus years. You have got to say fresh and current with the contacts in your database so that they will routinely remember you when those valuable business opportunities arise. Now, Danny, I got to tell you something really important. When I was first introduced to Spotlight branding many years ago, I remember you and Mark talking about the fact that you had an aha moment. And one of your aha moments was, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe this. I keep running into attorneys who tell me these stories about clients that they represented 2, 3, 4 years ago, forgot what they did. And there was a really amazing case that I even encountered from one of our FLN members at an FLN meeting recently, where one of our guys who does PI walks into the grocery store, sees a client he represented 3 or 4 years ago, and the guy has a broken arm. He says, oh, dude, what the hell happened to you? He says, well, I got rear-ended and this UPS truck hit me. He's like, oh, crap. All right, well, we got to get you in real quick to be able to get you signed up. He's like, oh, I totally forgot that you did PI. So I went with another attorney whose billboard I saw as I was driving home from the office the other day.
Brutal. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we hear it all the time. And it's like if that attorney had simply had a monthly newsletter cadence and just kept his name in front of that potential client, years later, he would have remembered him. And also, how many referrals might he have had the opportunity to make over that period of time? I mean, it really is remarkable how important these sort of simple strategies are. And so that's really that's a perfect segue. And I want to comment on one other thing before we move beyond this slide too. In full transparency, at Spotlight Marketing and Branding, we do offer SEO and PPC services, and we do believe in them. It just typically comes later. We are really talking today about building a foundation and kind of getting to that initial, whether it's 1 million or 500,000, whatever sort of your immediate goal is. So I do believe in these strategies, and they can be utilized well. And Mo, clearly you guys are getting calls from Google, and you've got an intake team that's trained on how to deal with it. So don't hear me say you should never spend money on SEO or PPC, but really, truly, I wouldn't start there, and I wouldn't do it at a very minimum until you've got the budget, not only to pay for a month or two, but to pay for maybe 6 months so that you can spend the time necessary to get things dialed in. And 2, an intake team that can respond to leads quickly and professionally. And without that in place, I would not spend money on SEO or PPC. So what should you do instead? And Mo, you've already told us a bit about your journey. And and sort of you talked about the first breakthrough was when you shifted your firm from a broad focus to a narrow focus. I believe estate planning is and was 100% of your focus. That's correct?
Yeah, we do both estate planning and probate, and it's probably about a 50-50, split. And they really do kind of touch on the same market.
Yep.
Because they deal in the same aspects of things. Yep. But that niche really is important. And again, when people see you, they want to remember you for what it is that you do and like to do and are really passionate about doing. And when that happens, then it's a lot easier to brand yourself. It's a lot easier to market yourself. It's a lot easier for messaging. And you just, it just becomes a lot more liberating, Danny, when you can say no to the cases you don't want to handle.
I mean, that's a great point too. And several of you commented here in chat. Mark, Sade, Kate, Stephanie, Carolyn, and all of you, it sounds like do have a pretty narrow focus, and I commend you for that. It usually does take a little while to get to that point. Mo described it took him several years. Listen, it took us several years when we started our marketing agency way back in 2011. It took us a few years to realize that we needed to narrow in our focus on law firms so we could really serve law firms at a high level. So I love hearing all of you that have built that narrow focus. But I know there are folks on here who haven't taken that plunge yet. And one of the things I want to ask you, Mo, I think there's a very specific, because I've had dozens, 50 plus of these conversations with attorneys who are sort of at this point of thinking about narrowing in their focus. And it always feels scary because it always feels like they're saying no, they're taking options off the table. If I focus just on estate planning, what happens if a DUI calls me? Maybe I feel like I can't afford to say no to revenue right now. So Mo, did you experience that, and how did you move through that fear?
It's yes, definitely, Danny. I think everyone starting out their firm has that scenario. It is a fear that the next call will not come in, the next email will not come in, the next person will not fill out that contact form to do business with you. And you're just so excited to dive off and explore this particular area of practice, Danny. And what I will share with you is, regardless of area of practice, the most tempting thing that happens to an attorney is one of your existing clients gets into a car accident and they come to you and say, okay, well, I need you to refer me to a PI attorney, or by the way, can you handle it since I really know you, et cetera, and so on. And they take a look at the policy and they say, okay, well, this shouldn't be so bad. It looks like you've got over $165,000 in medical bills, and it's only a $10,000 policy. So this is not so hard. Let me just go ahead and put your demand together, demand the $10,000, and then I'll make a quick 1/3 of a percentage on that. And then you come to realize later that, oh crap, I could have actually gotten a lot more if I had properly set up the case for bad faith, et cetera, and so on. So niching is not just a really good marketing idea. It is a really good personal and professional and even a financial idea, because it's just that much better. It's not possible for all of us to know every particular area of law, which is why I'm telling you, even in our FLN meeting, we learn so much from our fellow FLN members about whether it's landlord-tenant or real estate litigation or a bankruptcy, criminal defense, or PI or immigration that I never knew before when I was practicing in my own silo. So it helps tremendously, but there is a fear. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, as long as you get past that fear and you're okay with really focusing in on what you do and how well you do it, and you really are intent on marketing and networking and building your business on your niche, great things will happen.
Love it. And guys, if there's anybody listening to this who is at this decision point and is struggling with this, speak up in the chat. Let us know what you're thinking about. Let us know kind of what you're debating, and we'll see if we can help push you to make a decision. So, but it's two things. It's choosing that niche, but then it is truly making sure that 100% of your marketing is built for that niche. And that's your website, that's your social media, that's listings and directories like Avo. That's even making sure you're pursuing the right types of Google reviews, managing your reputation. If you are running ad campaigns, running your ad campaigns targeted towards those ideal clients within your niche, and even things like trade shows, conferences, and events. You need to dial your marketing into that niche. And here's what I always tell people, and this is a little bit interesting. I strongly believe you need to do 100% of your marketing towards your ideal client avatar in your niche. But from time to time, there may be somebody that comes to you through a referral or through some other relationship that needs help that's a little bit outside of that wheelhouse. And if that fits within kind of what, your operation and what you've got going on, you can take it, right? And you can make that decision. You don't actually have to close yourself off to it. And I mean, a great example here at Spotlight, 100% of our marketing is geared towards serving small law firms. And, we have in the neighborhood of 200 clients, and the vast majority of them are small law firms. But guess what? They're not all small law firms. In fact, there's probably a few of you here in this webinar today who are not law firm owners. And guess what? We're glad you're here. And if it so happens that our services are a good fit for you, we'll totally entertain that conversation. That's just not the way we've geared our marketing. And so that would be my, for those of you who let us know that you are very dialed in on a specific niche, let's make sure that your entire marketing plan is built towards getting you in front of that ideal client. And that includes your referral network, which leads to sort of the second point in this is once you've defined your niche and decided what your ideal clients look like, I firmly believe that building a referral network and a network of relationships, supplemented with some really smart marketing, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, can get you to that first million or 500,000 or whatever your target is. And Mo, I know this is where you spend a lot of your time, so I'm gonna turn this over to you. But I've sort of got two questions because I think about this as sort of maybe two different approaches. One is once you've decided what your ideal clients look like, who they are, geographically, demographically. And by the way, Mike, we've got an ideal client checklist that's meant to help law firms figure out who their ideal clients are. You already dropped it in the chat. Perfect. One step ahead of me. Guys, go ahead and click on that. If you are struggling a little bit with deciding who your ideal clients are and just getting organized and building your ideal client avatar, download that PDF. It'll help you get your thoughts organized. But that's question number one, is where do your best clients spend their time? And then number two, who are your best referral sources and where do they spend their time? Because I think those are the two approaches to networking, relationship development. Is either you want to be networking where your clients are, or you want to be networking where your best referral sources are. Mo, do you agree with that philosophically?
Yeah, absolutely. And you definitely can make a conscious effort to find out where your clients are spending their time. But even if you don't know where you're spending their time, I'm going to give you a really golden nugget that a lot of our FLN members have shared that's worked out really well. If you simply send a birthday card or call your clients on their birthday, you have no idea the ROI on that particular action. Seems simple, seems almost silly, but it is astounding how well and effective that is. Now, on the referral sources thing, if you have not done so recently, I impress upon you to really take a look at your case list for the last 6, 12, 18, 24 months and take a look at two things. Number one, what are the names of your referral sources? And number two, what is their primary area of practice and or profession? If you're getting 50% of your cases from financial planners, then you want to really make sure that you're spending some time and energy with financial planners. If you are getting 40% of your cases from one particular attorney who does bankruptcy law, you want to make sure that you are cultivating and developing those connections, not only with that top referral source, but with other attorneys in that same demographic or area of practice. But we talk a lot about a marketing plan, Danny. But what I really try and impress upon our own FLN members and other attorneys is, listen, you really need to actually take time to develop a one-page networking plan. A one-page networking plan. And it is as easy as saying, I have decided that every Friday for breakfast, I'm going to take someone with me. Whether it's a referral source, whether it's a formal client, whether it's a prospective client. When you get into that habit, that routine of consistently and habitually implementing a particular strategy, the results go through the roof.
I love that. That is gold. Mo, I'm curious if you've seen this. I know I have, right? Because we're sitting here talking about a strategy that, is not exactly a bright shiny object, right? Networking, relationship development, not new. We're not talking about AI. We're not talking about, right? So like this is something everybody's aware of. But at the same time, I find that attorneys and business owners, and I'm an entrepreneur, so I fall into this. One of two mistakes. They'll either ignore it altogether, or when they finally do decide to jump into it, they do it with enough with enthusiasm and end up biting off more than they can chew, and trying to get to a different event, 2 3 nights a week, and it's like you can't be consistent, and I would argue that it is more important to make a networking plan that is realistic, that you can be consistently present in 1 or 2 or 3 communities, but really be consistent and show up day in and day out, or week in or month in and month out, right? Because I would argue that consistency is where the relationships and the trust is really created. Do you see that any differently?
Oh, absolutely. What happens, Danny, is that we see people that get so excited and energized that they go a mile wide and only a few inches deep. And I'll tell you honestly, when people come to FLN, they'll ask me, okay, I'm ready to do this, and I haven't even joined yet, but I want to know, how can I join 2 or 3 different chapters at a time? And I'm like, we don't even allow that. They're like, well, why not? We're gonna be able to network with a lot more people. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. I need you to focus on the people in your particular FLN chapter first before you start expanding and diluting your time, energy, and efforts. And when I say develop a networking plan and determine your top referral sources, I'm saying start out with no more than 12. No more than 12. And if you identify your top 12 referral sources, guess what? Guess what? There are 13 weeks every quarter, and all you have to do is connect with one of them every week, and you even get a week off, and you'll get your top 12 in. But here's the key. After that quarter goes by, do you know what you have to do again? Go back to that same referral group and connect with them again. So don't just do it one time for that quarter, and then you get to the end of the quarter and you don't do it again. You start the process all over again. Now, some people might become part of the top 12. Some people might drop off of the top 12. And if you don't have 12, go with 8 or go with 4. Go with something in that regard. But the more time, energy, and focus you have, that you really, really do actually spend on building and developing your connections, you'll find that a smaller group will give you far more ROI than a larger group who rarely knows you.
Completely agree. So, Mo, Mark has a great question dropped in the chat here. Mark Thomas says, on referral sources, how do you handle referral fees? Attorneys expect them and think it should be 1/3. I can't do that. Talking it out usually gets to something lower, but still a big bite out of my retainer. So how do you handle that, Mo? How do you recommend people think about that?
It's very, very interesting. I think it's a great question. And what I have come to learn is that it really depends on what the overall culture and market is in your particular community. Here down in Florida, we have a general rule amongst all practitioners that on PI cases, that is a standard referral fee of 25%. We don't even do the 1/3 thing. So that's actually part of the Florida rules of professional guidelines, et cetera, and so on. Now, in other areas of practice, what's really, really interesting about this, Mark Thomas, who asked the question, is that customarily, in hourly cases, unless you're going to be getting $5,000, $10,000 or more, it's really difficult to share fees in those particular types of cases. Now, what I can tell you is something really interesting. However, the attorneys that do it, miraculously and amazingly, keep getting more and more referrals to their firm. Now, I can't, promote it or discourage it. I'm just kind of giving you my feedback as to what I have seen done. But at a minimum, what you have to do, and I tell this to all of our FLN member attorneys, You have to know and understand what the referral relationship is going into it so there are no misunderstandings. Too often, I'll have our FLN members come to me and say, "Oh man, that guy made 10 grand on that case, and I didn't even get $14." I'm like, "Okay, but that's not his fault. Why not?" "Well, because you guys didn't discuss it at the outset of the case." You have to say, okay, hey, are there any co-counsel fees? Are there any referral fees? Are there any things that I need to be aware of? Because you know what? The moment that you are expecting a referral fee or will be getting a co-counsel fee for anything, you better make sure you put that case on your active case list, because you know what else you have? You have responsibility. If that attorney you referred the case to that blows that statute of limitations, as we've seen happen, or blows up that case, you are also on the hook. So be cognizant and aware of that as well. So, I mean, overall, we've seen it in many different facets. On PI cases and most contingency fee cases in Florida, it is a standard 25% referral fee. On everything else, it's as agreed upon and as people do.
Wonderful. All right. So step one, get really clear on your niche, your ideal client avatar, and make sure that your marketing is 100% focused on those ideal clients. Step two is get serious about your networking and your relationship development strategy. Make sure that you're spending your time either where your clients are spending their time or where your best referral sources are spending their time, and focus on consistency and quality over quantity. I now want to share what I would consider two really relatively low cost, high leverage digital marketing tools that you can use without spending a fortune on SEO or PPC, that are going to support and help you get more out of your networking and your relationship development strategy. And the first is called, it's social media retargeting, okay? And social media is not exactly a new concept for most of you, but here is what is really cool. You can do something, and this is something we do at Spotlight for nearly all of our clients, where rather than just posting on your Facebook page or your Instagram page and kind of out into the void, and whoever sees it, and whoever doesn't see it, doesn't see it, we have built a strategy called retargeting. And here is how it works. It starts with, we take your email list, right? And this is the list of relationships that you've hopefully developed over your time as you do narrow your niche, as you do build your referral network, as you do serve clients, you begin to create an email list. And if you aren't in the practice of keeping your email list up to date, you want to be, right? Your email list is one of the most valuable assets that you own. But so let's say you've got your email list. Maybe there's 500, 1,000 people on that list. We have clients that have 8,000. We also have clients that have as low as maybe 100 people on their list. But here's what a lot of people don't know that you can do. You take that email list, and a firm like ours, or we'll show you how to do it if you want to do this yourself, will upload that list to the Meta Ad Manager. And yes, this is completely encrypted, end-to-end hash level encryption. You don't have to worry about security. You load your list. Let's say it's 1,000 people, just to make the math easy. And then Meta is going to go through what's called a matching process, where they go one by one by one down your list of 1,000 email addresses, and they are attempting to match each email list with a Facebook or Instagram user. And every time they successfully do that, they drop that user in a bucket. It's into your retargeting audience. On average, they're able to make a match about 55% of the time. So if you've got 1,000 people on your list and you load that into the Meta Ad Manager, about 550 of them are going to be successfully matched and dropped into that audience bucket. Right? We're then going to put a tracking pixel on your website. We're then going to do a little bit of behind the scenes work in the Meta Ad Manager. But then here's the beauty. We take that list of, your 550 people, and now your social content, rather than just going out into the void, can be boosted to those specific people. And it can be done with an extremely small ad spend. $200 a month will typically get you 5,000 or more impressions. And here's the thing, these aren't just random impressions. This is your network. These are the people that you've met at your networking events. These are the clients you worked with who will maybe forget about you if you don't find a way to stay in front of them. Wouldn't it be great if for a couple $100s a month in ad spend, every time those people opened up Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, they see your boosted content? It's top of mind awareness. It's making sure they remember who you are and what you do. It's a really, really low cost way to stay in front of your audience. To me, this is one of the most underutilized marketing strategies out there. And I believe every single law firm should be doing this. And then second, and we already touched on this a little bit, but that same list should absolutely be getting a monthly email newsletter. And I get it. Everyone sends a lot of email. Everybody receives a lot of email. I'm telling you, our clients probably average around a 30 to 40% open rate. We have clients that tell us that every time they send out an email newsletter, a couple of referrals come in. An email newsletter, especially when you combine it with the digital retargeting I just talked about, is a really, really powerful strategy. You've got your email, you repurpose content. So hopefully you're working with us, or you're working with somebody, or you're creating your own blog content, your social media content, repurpose that for your email newsletter, and then send that newsletter to your whole list. Okay. Your referral sources, your past clients, your friends, family, anybody who's possibly in position to either hire you or refer work to you should be on that list. You put these two strategies together, and not only are you nurturing leads, driving referrals, creating repeat business, but this is how you get the most ROI out of all of that relationship development that Mo and I have just talked about. So Mo, again, I haven't run any of this past you, but how do you feel about the concept of sort of, you've got your networking and that's where you're putting a lot of your your effort and your energy, but then you support that with some smart digital marketing? Because as we discussed, it's hard to call everybody on your list every quarter, right? And so using marketing as a way to amplify those efforts, to me, is a big win.
Danny, honestly, you had me at hello. This was enlightening and informative, because this is what's missing. This is what's missing. I'll tell you honestly, from total transparency, this is what's missing in our own firm. This is what's missing from many of our FLN members' firms. And, you're right. When you take the time and the energy and the focus to build and develop your network, okay, great. Now what? Now what? Are you going to be diligent and focused and spend the time to send out a monthly email newsletter, whether you send it once a month or once every 2 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever it is? Are you going to do it? Are you going to really upload your list to the Meta platform that does this retargeting thing? Because that is outstanding. And that's now the second time I've heard that in the last several months. But that is extraordinary, which is why more and more people are saying that Facebook strategy is even far more effective than the SEO PPC stuff, because it targets your people. It doesn't target randoms.
That's exactly right. And that is the key difference. I love how you sum that up. It's targeting your people, not targeting randoms. So, all right. So you combine that, right? So you start with getting really clear on your niche. 2, you build an intelligent networking strategy and you commit to executing that consistently. And 3, you put some really smart marketing systems in place to support that. Honestly, that's 90% of what you need to get you to your growth goals. So listen, I hope that was helpful. We are not going to we'll have to do a part 2 of this. We're not going to have time today to get into the Facebook ads and lead magnet strategy, which I would build on top of what we just discussed. But we will do that in a future webinar, so stay tuned for that. But before we wrap up, and I do want to take any final questions, and Stephanie, thank you so much for the feedback. Glad it was helpful. Yes, we will send this recording out to anybody who missed it. But for those of you who are sitting here and maybe you do have the niche figured out and you do have the networking strategy figured out, or you're going to join FLN Global and get your networking strategy figured out, when you are ready for help putting the marketing system in place. That is what we do here at Spotlight. We have a turnkey marketing system that is built specifically for small law firms. It is targeted at your people, right? Targeted to your ideal clientele and your referral network. It includes a lot of the tools you've heard people talk about: website, email marketing, blog creation, organic social ads, things like that. Listen, I'm not going to do a hard sell here. It's just not kind of how we do business. If you want to have a conversation with our team, with Jana, with Eddie, scan the QR code. We'd be glad to just kind of talk through, what is your firm focus? Who are your ideal clientele? What does your networking strategy look like? Is there room for our marketing to help support you and help you get to your growth goals? Again, whether that's $1 million or $3 million or $500,000, we would love to have that conversation with you. So with that, Mo, I think we gave a lot of value here. I really do appreciate the nuggets that you kind of threw out, and just your experience and your expertise. Just any final thoughts as we are wrapping up here? Anything else you want people to know, Mo? Anything you wish you had known earlier in your legal career? I'll throw it over to you for any final thoughts you may have.
Well, really, really excellent presentation, Danny. Very well thought out, very strategic. You've got me thinking on my end as to some of the things that we need to be doing to improving and enhancing our particular marketing efforts, both in the law firm and with FLN. And the best advice I can give people out there is networking is not about passing around your business card to every person that you meet and see. You want to really build and develop those valuable connections on a long-term basis. And by the way, we didn't get a chance to plug this earlier, but, I encourage the people that are still here with us that if you go to flnglobal.com and you join our contact list, we'll even invite you to participate in our Zoom group opportunities. So that's where we actually every month put a group of 5 or 6 attorneys in different areas of practice that learn more about each other's area of practice so they can kind of build and develop that. So that's kind of a pilot program that we're working on to kind of expand this concept on a much wider platform. But definitely, I encourage you to get out there, network, build those connections. And just like Danny was saying, develop your niche, develop your network, consistently and routinely connect with them, and then finally implement some of these marketing strategies Danny and Spotlight are talking about, and you'll really have some tremendous results. Because anything else, and you're just kind of shooting in the dark as to whether stuff will work out or not.
Amazing. Mo, thank you again. Jana, Eddie, any final words from your end?
Go for it, Eddie.
Oh, no, you go for it, Jana. After you, man.
I have nothing to echo. This was informative for me as well. I always love having these. So Mo, thank you so much for hopping on. I know that all of this was super insightful. So I look forward to talking with anyone who grabs the link from the QR code down there and talking about how all this applies to your firm specifically.
Yeah, a great presentation, Mo. You absolutely killed it, as you always do, my friend. I can promise you, I was not the guy that called your law firm telling you to take my DUI case. That was not me. But other than that, you guys are awesome. I appreciate your time, my friend.
Love it. All right. Well, Mo, thank you again. We are right at the top of the hour, so we will let everybody go here. But Maria, Mark, Kate, thank you guys so much for being here. Thanks for the engagement. Kind of as we went through this, guys. As you know, we do these webinars frequently. We will let you know when the next one is happening. We'd love to see you back. If you have questions or if you have specific topics you want us to cover next time, don't hesitate to drop us an email. Let us know. Again, Mo, the website for FLN Global, it's simply flnglobal.com. Is that correct?
Just like that. We made it easy.
So make sure you guys check that out and follow Mo on LinkedIn. Mo, as soon as we end this, it's just going to kind of disappear. So I'm just going to say thank you so much for being here. We really appreciated your time. And with that, everybody, thanks for being here, and we'll hope to see you all again soon.